Detroit, as you can see, is changing. Behind me, they have actual construction. The Woodward Rail going in, all kinds of great stuff. We know the names of the people helping the city rebound. But what about the people who got us here, who helped the city of Detroit get started? Big names, names you've heard of. Did you ever wonder how those streets got their names? Let's go find out.
Detroit's beginnings start right here in the Detroit River. Early settlers needed three things: water for crops and furry animals they could trap, farmland, and woods for lumber. So rather than having large, wide farms, the French-speaking first Detroiters made long, thin farms, about a city block wide, shooting northward for about 3 miles, where they had access to all three at the same time. Those so-called ribbon farms gave the city its early identity and footprint. But then disaster struck. Much like Chicago, the entire wooden city of Detroit burned to the ground in 1805. And that's when this guy, a well-known Washingtonian, indelibly put his name and his stamp on the city, Augustus Bevort Woodward. Detroit Historical Museum senior curator Joel Stone says of Woodward,
"He's an unusual fellow, and he, after the city burned in 1805, he was kind of responsible for developing a street plan that had to be approved by Congress."
Woodward loved Washington, D.C.'s layout and wanted to bring the same capital hexagons here, with an eye toward Washington politicians liking a similar outpost. If you look at the map, you'll notice half a hexagon with Adams, Madison, Bagley, Broadway, and Woodward.
So he was developing this plan, and the central street in his plan happened to be named Woodward. Now, he claimed it was because the street ran toward the woods. Woodward. Nobody believed him then, and I don't think we believe him now.
Cass Avenue got its name from Louis Cass, a French farmer, and the street runs from downtown to New Center. John R. Street got its name from a guy by the name of John R. Williams, not the composer. John R. Williams, Detroit's first mayor after its incorporation as a city.
His father was a very well-to-do merchant, and when he became mayor, he got to name a street after himself.
He was related to another famous Detroiter, merchant Joseph Campo, the wealthy fur trader and landowner who married Adelaide de Quinder. You're beginning to see a theme here. And finally, you've been to Greektown. You've seen Beaubien and St. Antoine streets. Well, it turns out these two streets are named for the very same guy, Antoine Beaubien,
who was a farmer on the east side of town, named Beaubien Street and St. Antoine after his namesake patron saint, right next to each other. So those two streets are actually easily identified with Antoine Beaubien, and the Beaubien family still is around in Detroit today.
So the city is growing and changing, getting better, more interesting. But its roots of those French ribbon farms remain. In downtown Detroit, Rod Maloney, Local 4.